Sends out. Get our bot in here. And get the Discord posted. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Chris Ingerson, and it is April 11th, and this is the April 11th TextQuest Devstream. So, today we are going to be working on a couple of things. Specifically, one, we're going to start off with a pretty simple task, I think, which is going to be basically polishing up the way that our new inline sprites are shown for key bindings on these tutorial paintings. I've been experimenting with it a little bit. I have the actual key bindings showing up. So if I go ahead and hit play, you'll be able to see that we have custom key bindings working out. They do show up as their inline sprites, but they're not quite formatted the way that I would like for them to be right now. Coughing still. And I would like to just polish that up a little bit. Man, it takes a long time for it to start if it's directly in the scene. Don't know why. So you can see that this is about where you start in this, and in the old system, you could pretty much clearly read WAS and D, but because inline sprites are kind of sized to match the text, the font size, they were actually too small because they were about half the size of the actual text because the sprites themselves match the text size. And since obviously these are bounding boxes with the letter inside of them, they were too small to read. So I blew them up a little bit, but I would like to actually format this a little differently now. So main thing there is like I need this first movement painting to be legible from this distance, like comfortably legible too, not even like ambiguously legible. Like it should be the giant E on site tests. Um, so once we move up to here, you can see that's WAS and D. Looks a little ugly right now. That's what we're going to work on to start. And it gets even worse when you get down to here, right? Because shift is so tiny that you don't really notice it until you're out of hallway to sprint. The idea behind the placements of these is basically that you see movement, so you move, then you see mouse to look, so you look around, and then you should see shift to sprint, which will let you sprint down this hallway, and then you can turn, and then as you get closer, you'll see left mouse or E to interact when near an object, and it's not too bad for these types of things when you're right next to it. It really only becomes a problem if you're trying to read these things from far away, which is and is not an issue. I mean, for the most part, it's pretty much just this hallway where you're reading them from any reasonable distance, really. Otherwise, all the tutorial stuff is pretty close up. To give you a sense of that, actually, let's go ahead and no clip through here. So, for example, H to open help is not terrible, but it's not great. Let's go ahead and get on the ground so you can see what these look like. So, you have to be about here before you can clearly read it. About here, it becomes iffy. Like you can read it, but it's if you have trouble kind of reading these things, it can be a little difficult to see. So I'd say about here is where it gets to be mostly legible, and then about here is where it's definitely legible. So I probably need to reformat these a little bit because it's definitely getting cramped for one. Like you can see that it's kind of like brushing up right against the edge here of the painting. So I would probably want to reorganize this a little bit to make these keys be a little bit more prominent. And that could be as simple as, say, moving the to open inventory label over to the right so it takes up this amount of space, and then I just make the I giant over here. Same with H, same with enter. The special keys are a little bit more difficult to work with just because they're twice as wide, which makes them difficult to scale up if you only have vertical space to fill. It's much easier, say, to move this to open inventory over to the right and then fill up the space with an I than it is to do the same with enter, which is pretty wide already. So we would probably actually have to come up with a different way of doing this. We might scale down the description text a little bit and make the actual key text a little bit larger, the inline sprite for that. But that's kind of the state of things right now. I don't think we actually really have anything. We got an E10, right? So I am saying all the time, and I hate when I do that. The major thing that I want to do here is basically I just want to make sure that my inline sprites are legible from a decent distance away, so you don't have to smash your face right up against the painting to really see what it's trying to say. So that's what we're going to be working on to start today. After that, we are going to move over to updating my CSV parser. And when I say updating, I mean pretty much rewriting it from scratch. And when I say pretty much, I mean totally rewriting it from scratch. Because the current parser works, but there are a couple of things in it that aren't great. And after the JSON parser rewrite that I did recently, I found a better way of basically parsing string data or large quantities of string data. So the way it currently works, if I show you this, is yeah, you know what? We'll get into that when we get to it. So for now, let's go ahead and start on our actual inline sprite stuff that we want to do. And once we have this working for the inline sprites, that's basically it as far as inline sprites go. There is one more particular thing that I do want to do with these inline sprites actually, which is the help output. Um, so we'll let this play, which is going to take probably about 5 seconds. There we go. So when you type H, or you actually enter help, you can see that we have all of the key bindings laid out, which I do like. It's a little cramped. I'm a little worried about that because it seems like the keys are just almost touching each other, which I'm not really crazy about, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And it's fine because I mean these are standard size, so it's not like I have one that's twice as tall as it is wide. It's always going to be wider than it is tall or equal length, just because that's how most keys on a keyboard are. Although there are admittedly a few tall ones, but that's also kind of format on the keyboard, I feel. But the point is, these I might try to space out a little bit more. I don't actually remember if line spacing is a thing. I mean, I know it's a concept, but I'm pretty sure we can drive it via text or via tags. Let's find out real quick. I might just like brute force this. Content, I believe it is this. Ah, dang it. It was this one all along. Oh, which submeshes? Is that like all of them? Huh. Alright. Interesting. It does seem like that's all of them. That's cool. I didn't realize that it drew these all with like the same submesh UI. That's kind of cool. Anyway, so what I would like to do here is come up to here and probably try this. So we're going to say, I'm going to turn off maximize on play, turn off pause. Let's go ahead and do this so we can see if it's live. Dang. Do I have line? Ah, that sucks. Okay, hold on. Probably be faster if I do it this way. Here we are. A line, okay, line height. Line dash height, that was my problem. So we need this to be line dash height. Okay, so that made that go away. That's good. So we can do line dash height is equal to 1 question. Ooh, did I spell height wrong? No. But let's see here. Oh, it's equal to 50%. Okay. That's fair, I guess. So let's do 100%. Oh. Okay. Interesting. So, did I just like type it wrong? Oh my god, I did. It's line hit. Oy. Hate it when I do that. Alright, let's make it like 150. Okay, that's looking pretty good. That's too much, though. So here's the delicate balance that we have to strike. Um, I want to make this comfortable enough that I can clearly see all of the sprites, but not so comfortable that I can't see everything in the help output, which is possibly okay if I do this. Let's go ahead and move that. Paste you here. Oh, what am I doing? That's worse. So I actually want this to go there. And then I want this to go here, followed by, oh no, so yeah, if I do that. It's close, but help is off screen. Um, Make you 15%. Okay, that kind of works, but I liked having the gap here. That made it a little bit easier to read this. By the way, we're going to be doing mostly coding today, so I should probably have that up there. So, that is problematic. So if I do about 115% line height, it all does fit, but it's kind of ugly. And really, I think all I need is this. Like this line height needs to go to here. Stop that. To about here, maybe. Because I would like the rest of it to be a regular line height. It's just difficult because of the... I need a space, essentially, so maybe if I do this... No. But I could do this, I bet. Line dash height is equal to, let's do like 50%. Let's see if this actually changes. I don't know if it will or not. I'm going to bring that down to like 10%. No, but maybe if I do this, it will. Ooh, really? That is super interesting. So, okay. Probably that's why. Let's make that 90. Okay, so I do have to make it like a little bit more reasonable. Let's try 50, 60. It's tolerable, but it's not quite what I want. I still have a little bit of extra room. Let's try to bump that just a smidge. So let's make this like 70. Okay. So maybe something like that. That gives me a little bit of breathing room, like just a little bit more breathing room on the sprites. Excuse me. Without without making the entire thing not fit on screen. So let's go ahead and I guess copy that. All right, and that is going to be under. I'm pretty sure that's like game settings help. Well, here, let's just do this the easy way. Parser.cs. I suppose actually what this is going to be is I need my parser commands. Go to definition, command type, inventory, verbs, save, help. Here we are. Go variables, help text. Go to definition. Whew. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and open up Notepad. paste that in there. Okay, so have that for reference. Let's go ahead and grab this, copy this. It's all actually procedural. Let's do that. Okay, we're gonna need this to go. Right. So this needs to go here. I'm pretty sure anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's there. Let's go ahead, and then we're going to need to copy this and put it down here. Okay, I think that's everything. At least I'm pretty sure. So let's go ahead and let that compile. So that means that it should be formatted correctly from the get-go. Once we have that, we're going to move into actually formatting the text on our individual paintings, and then we should be good to do CSV parsing. Okay, and while that's compiling, I'm going to take a drink. Also, I apologize for the sirens because I left my windows open. Since today was one of the... It was a pretty nice day, actually, weather-wise. Okay, let's go ahead and play. It was actually not... it was actually warm out consistently, although it was 50 this morning, which is, weird. All right, so there's that. Let's go ahead and maximize on play. Let's hit H. Oh, it's because I formatted that wrong. I did a silly thing. Put that in the wrong spot. When this should go here. Okay. I probably should flatten this instead of having it be a bunch of incremental strings like that. I think I did that for human readability, but I don't really know if that's worth my time. All right, let's go ahead and let that compile. Should it actually choose to do so? Haha, it's done. All right. Let's go ahead and clear this out. Let's hit play. Okay. Okay, that's looking a little bit better. Let's go ahead and hit help. Okay, nice. So that's all clearly on there, and we get just a smidge extra padding on there with a gap for our actual content down here. So it's not ideal. I would like to have been able to get just a little bit more breathing room, but honestly, having this much is pretty worthwhile. It might be a little. It might be in need of restructuring a bit, just because it kind of can be hard to map what's what. But All right, so let's go ahead and next thing we need to do is change how these are being displayed. Currently, the way it works is there is one Text Mesh Pro label that just gets a string formatted on it. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to break back into what I was doing way back in the before time, which was I would have a separate label for the values, like for the keystrokes, and a separate label for the action that is bound to them. And I'm doing that just because, one, it gives me a little bit more control over how it looks without having to do a bunch of extra formatting. And two, it makes it a little bit easier for me to size up the fonts because, again, it means I won't have to use a tag specifically to scale the font on the keystroke, which is what I'm actually doing over here. You can see that these these commas look way bigger than the letters for to and move. And yes, cat, I see you. Um, and that's just because I did a quick scale up on the text from the W to the D key, which included the fonts because I was too lazy to just put in a bunch of breaks. So what I would like to do actually is I would like to orient these anyway to be the traditional WASD presentation. So you'd have W, A, S, and D. So W up top, then A diagonally bottom left from it, S below it, and then D diagonally right bottom to it. So breaking it out, basically just man, I do not know why I still have this cough. Breaking it out should just make it a little bit easier for me in terms of controlling where I want the keys to show up. So let's go ahead and stop here. All right, I'm going to go down to, let's just fly out over here. Go ahead and select this. So you can see that this has just the one label currently. It is formatted. If we look at this, you'll see that we have, whatever to move. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. I'm going to call this our binding label. We don't need to change this, really, I don't think. Let's go ahead and hit 0 there. This label is going to be a little different because we want to just kind of do that. We're going to change our binding label. Okay, nice. So we can get rid of this. Get rid of this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And what I can do here now is make sure that it's centered, which is what it's doing, which is good. And then I can move it up. I guess it means that I probably could just do like this. All right, let's do a position offset of 0.55, 6. Happy medium. Let's go ahead and change our size a little bit to make that like 1. Okay, we're going to go ahead and let's just try this out real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. We are going to make this. Okay. So binding label is assigned. Our text value is correct. We're going to bump our size from 2.5 to 4. That might make it too big, but we'll see. So let's see what this looks like at runtime. So what essentially should be happening now is the keys will show up in the triangle like I wanted at the top. Ideally, let's hope that that's the case. And then the bottom to move should remain unchanged. We might actually slide it down just a little bit, but we'll see. That is vastly incorrect. Did you reset? No, you didn't. Yes, you did. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Okay. All right. And that is why we do text areas. Which, by the way, if you're doing anything with large paragraphs of text or more than one line of text, the text area attribute is a built-in thing for Unity, and it makes your text boxes look like this, and it's very convenient. So I definitely recommend doing that whenever you're doing anything more complicated than a single line or a couple of words, really. Even if it's one big line, you probably still want to do it just so that you can see it all. Okay. Yay! It's probably a little too close together, but, yay! Okay. So yeah, we're going to slide to move down, and we're going to increase the scale of this just a little bit. So we're going to do something like... let's change our binding label. We're going to add 2 more points to this. That might be too big, honestly. And then we're going to move this label down to here. And in fact, we're probably just going to go ahead and center this. Okay, with a height of 1. Let's go ahead and slide this down to like right there-ish. Save. All right, let's see what that looks like. All right. That's almost comically too big. Um, it's really not, though. I kind of think I'll increase the size of the text a little bit and then maybe decrease the size of that to like 5.5 instead of 6. Um, and we need to add spacing between the AS and D a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. We are going to change this. I'm pretty sure it's, what was it? Yes, CAD, I see you. Let's see, character spacing, is that what we want? Or is it word spacing? Let's see, text width, subscript, custom style strike, horizontal space. I'm guessing it's space. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Yeah, okay. So let's just say that might be too much, actually. It might end up just being a thing where I change size and do spacing manually. So that's probably going to look something like this. Actually, not here. I'm going to jump into play mode just to kind of mess around with the values that I want. It'll be a little bit easier that way if I can visualize it at runtime. And we don't want maximize on play on. Okay. So let's take a look at this. We're essentially going to want like this. Oh yeah, we have to. That's hilarious. I guess I could do this. Yeah, maybe. See, the problem there is like an M is actually a pretty wide thing. So, can I do 0.5 M? Maybe. Maybe not. Let's see. Let's see. You can use pixel or font units. Suppose I could do size, like I was saying. Um, let's try this. Oh, that was tint. No wonder that didn't work. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's better. So we'll make that like 2.5, I'm guessing. Yeah, that's looking much more fine. Um, all right, so we're looking at 2 with a height of like 1.25, I'm guessing. All right, so let's go. Excuse me. So we're pretty much going to want to put that between everything. And then we will go ahead and say, for our bottom label, let's bump our size up here to 3. And let's bump this one down to 5.5. That's looking pretty good. I still think that my regular label might be a little too awkward. Let's go ahead and do this. Bump this up to 4. Negative 20 font size. At that point, let's just get rid of this. Okay. So that works all right. Let's go ahead and fix that then. So we are going to want this in between these values. We want our binding label to have a height of 1.25 with our regular label having this be there, a height of 4, and I think we want it to be about here-ish. All right, let's just see if that looks right, and then I think we'll be good for this one. I might actually move the binding label down a smidge, right about there. It was kind of hugging the top a little bit. All right, so let's see what this looks like, and then we should be good. Okay. Let's go ahead and maximize on play. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. I could probably bring in the M's a little bit more, just to make them kind of spaced a little bit more closely with the W and S. But aside from that, I do like the way that that I cough and die, that it looks. I just need to sit up straight a little bit more. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this one more time. I'm just going to bring in my spacing just a smidge on here. So I'm going to make this like 1.5. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of steal this and paste it over the binding label so I can look at it a little bit more easily. I know it's not really going to do anything, but that way it matches up. Okay, let's try this one more time, make sure it looks right, and then we'll get on to the sprint painting. Excuse me. Yep, that looks good. I could probably actually bring it down to like 0.1 even, but I think that's fine. All right, so we now have, I think it's like way back here. So even if you spawn directly at the door, which you do not, you can very clearly see W, A, S, and D to move. So, and even if you end up, oh, that does challenge it. So, I might not worry about this tonight. That WASD is assuming that you use all standard keys, so either alphanumeric or letter. That's what alphanumeric is. Alphanumeric or character keys. But if you use special keys like return, backspace, shift, control, alt, whatever, for all 4 of your keys, then we get into some problems. Because that would not look correct. So shoot. That's something I'm gonna have to think about. I think I can. I think I can. I think I have a solution, which would basically just be to check, and if they are all standard alphanumeric or punctuation keys, then we'll use this layout. Otherwise, we would have to use a sort of like box grid pattern instead of a triangle like that. But we'll let this go for now. I'm gonna have to kind of mess with that and see what that looks like. All right. So that was the move painting. Let's go ahead and take care of our sprint painting real quick. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. We're going to call this binding label. What did I call it? Binding or bindings? Okay, binding label. Single out our scale. Let's go ahead and 0 out our position. Make this 1.55 in line with everything else. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bump this up to, again, 5.5. We are going to just straight up make it that. That's all it's got to be. Our label here is going to be 4 again. We are going to get rid of the top here. Let's go ahead and bring this down. Have this slide a little bit. Height of 1.5, I think, will be good. Let's go ahead, and it is aligned to the right. It also looks like it's aligned vertically. Oh, it's because I was looking at the wrong thing. Let's go ahead and slide this up real quick so I don't accidentally look at it. Okay, so there is our 2 sprints. That's looking pretty good, actually. Okay, so our binding label is here. Let's go ahead and change our height to 1. pretty sure that we're good there. Let's go ahead and bump this down. Get rid of all of this. Okay, sprint, sprint, sprint. Make sure that this says binding label, and let's see what that looks like. Reasonably confident in this one, because this one is pretty straightforward. Okay, so looking good, looking good, looking good. So if yeah, so shift is a little sketchy, but um, by the time you get to here, it kind of clears up. So I think we're good. Um, that does look good. I'm loving it. Okay, next thing we're gonna have to do is this. Let's go ahead and pause real quick and kind of finagle with this to see what we want them to be. All right. So it gets complicated because, of course, all right. Let's go ahead and just take a stab at this. We're gonna go ahead and duplicate this. We're gonna call this binding label again. Let's go ahead and we're going to shrink our height because we already know. It is going to essentially just be that. We're going to bump this up to 4. And here's where it gets fun. I'm going to have to do a size thing in the middle here. We're going to have to say size is equal to, I believe it was 2.5 before. Not 3.5, 2.5. Size. Okay, that is pretty much what I would expect. Let's go ahead and bump this over. So we're going to make the spaces be part of the smaller size. Let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to paste all of that. Okay. Oh, look at that. OR is apparently spelled, or I put the space in the wrong spot. That was my fault. This, oh, that's the regular label, so I want to get rid of this actually. So I'm going to slide this down. And this is something that's complicated enough that I'm probably going to do centered again. So we're just going to kind of like position this a little bit off to the side here. And I think our binding label is going to be a little farther down, about there. Okay. Binding label in there and see what happens. Taking a drink. Promising. Also, it's not 4, is it? It's 5.5. So yeah, we'll bump those up just a little bit more, and then I think we'll be good. Shift is pretty good. Okay, so let's real quick. Let's see. So that's 2.5. No, hold on. So we want to look at our binding label for both that and this label. It is 5.5. Yeah, and I don't know why, but for some reason I made that 4, so 5.5. Okay, so let's just go ahead and let that go. Hit save. See what it looks like. Good. Okay. That does look pretty good. Shift is easy to read. I think on full screen it would be pretty straightforward to read. Yeah. So mouse or E. Again, if we end up using a double space on either of those, it will bork that. So I'll have to really think about that one. Probably what I would do is I would have to change the size of um, the sprites to just make them fit a little bit better. But okay, so we have mouse left or E, which the mouse sprites that I have I think work. Like you can kind of recognize that as mouse left, but it's not super intuitive, admittedly. Um, like that vaguely looks like a mouse, and the thing I tried to do was I tried to make it match the key inputs in the sense that like it would kind of look like that. Um, so that kind of locked me into a square, and that it kind of works. Again, if like I told you that that was a mouse, I think it would click for everyone, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, I get that. That's left mouse." But I have my doubts that people will kind of intuitively see that as left mouse, or at the very least that there will be some amount of people that don't see that as left mouse and don't really know what it is. Now, fortunately, it's not too bad because it's paired with E, so they will know at least one way. But it would be nice if they could instantly tell that that's also left mouse in addition to being E. Um, but all right, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and stop playing. We're gonna fly all the way over to our other paintings where things get a little bit more difficult because we have much less space to work with, and yet so much more to do. So we have 0 to crouch. Uh, that one is pretty much just going to be like sprint. Um, the hard ones come with the 2 open inventory, open close input menu, and open help. I don't want them all to be the same, but I'm kind of leaning towards the same format for them all, which is essentially what I was talking about over here, where we just take this label, carve it out, slide it over to the right, and then we make the space that's open after that just be the key binding. It gets difficult though about that, so womp womp. Um, all right, we'll kind of move forward, and then I will probably after the stream tonight take a look at what things look like with extra wide keys, just because that's going to require a little bit of kind of thought on my part how to handle that. Um, Although not so much for these two because these two by default are using wide keys, so that actually might be useful. Let's do help because that one looks a little bit easier. I guess we can scale these down, which is kind of what I was talking about before. Alternatively, I'm using like the blank to or X2Y. So like WASD to move, shift to sprint. Um, I could remove the word to and just put like lagged there for a bit. So I could just put like giant H and then open help, giant enter and then open close input menu, giant I and open inventory. Of course, the downside to that is that open inventory is a very wide term. Uh, I all right. Let's try this with to open help. Nope, because that's an H. So okay, fine. Let's go ahead and click on this real quick. Let's just try this. Binding label. All right, make that 5.5. Let's go ahead and we're just going to change this to be our standard thing there. We are going to have this be centered and align again, centered probably. We're going to bump this up to 5, 4. That's still a bit of a stretch. All right, 1 and 1. That might still be too wide. Let's go ahead and bump this over to here. Let's go ahead and move our label. So we're going to change this to say just straight up open help. Let's have this be align center and align center. We can probably do 1 and 1 again. So something like this, pretty much. Move these in just a little bit so that they're not hugging the edge. All right, let's see what that looks like, I guess. Dang it. Of course, this time I have maximize on play on. And then after we have the castle ones done, we do need to go to the sewer real quick to handle the space to jump one. Whee! Oh. Of course, I forgot to set that. Come back here. Okay. Turn off maximize on play so that we can just see it as soon as we start playing. Okay. Wow, that needs to be way bigger. That H is teeny tiny. Let's go to our binding label here. Let's go ahead and bump that up to like 6. That's looking a little bit better. Cool. So that that doesn't look too terrible. Let's go ahead and maximize on play real quick. Okay, let's run around here. Yeah, I like that. That's not too bad. So that works for open help. We can probably slide the help label over a little bit. And that's about the size that I would like for the other ones. I could probably, again, get rid of 2 and I think center this and then have enter the open close input menu. I was going to do something similar to open inventory, though. I'd like to try and keep these distinct, but I don't think I'm going to win that fight, so... Alright. Alright. Boo. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of like aligned left sprites with aligned right text. So we'll do 1 over under, 1 over under, then left right, I think. So let's go ahead and stop. Sorry for all the spinning around. Let's turn off maximize on play. Before I forget, we're going to go ahead and bump this up to 6, and then we're going to slide our label over to about here-ish, I'm going to say. Okay, let's go ahead and collapse that. Let's go to our inventory painting. I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit F. I'm going to hit F again so that I look at it from the right direction. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. I'll call this binding label. Set that up. And let's go ahead and do that. Centered and centered. Key binding. I'm going to assume 4 probably for this one. With a width of 1 and 1. Let's go ahead and slide this over. Followed by this, which I will now delete that. Move this over. Oh man, I cannot move that very far because of that letter, or because of that word. Oh, inventory is too freaking big. Interact is also very big. Okay. New idea. How about we do this? We're going to change the width to, I think that's probably closer to 2. Yeah, that's good. And 0.75. Okay. Not that it really matters, honestly. I'm just kind of eyeballing this. All right, we're going to slide this over to here. And then we're going to have our binding label be over and up right about here. probably okay. Actually, no. Let's do it the other way. I'm going to put this over here. We're going to change this to be aligned right. Okay. So let's try that. See what it looks like. All right. So let's grab this. Make this our binding label. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit save here. And let's see. It might be a little bit of overlap on the sprite end, but worst comes to worst, I can just kind of shrink its size. I think that's actually a pretty decent layout, having it look like that. Eh, not too bad. Let's fly over there. Man, I really wish that I could use bigger characters. Let's kind of slide this around, I guess. Let's bump this up to 6 as well, just to see what that looks like. It's a little tight. Oh, it's static. Hilarious. Um, okay, so that kind of works. Just let's see what it looks like at 5. Um, yeah, okay, I think I can do that, and then we can probably slide it a little bit to the left. All right, so we're gonna make this like 5.5. We're gonna slide it a little bit over to here and a little bit up, right about there. See what that looks like. Hmm. I could slide it a little bit further left. Let's go for something like right about there. Should it choose to ever do so? All right. I like that. That's not too bad, and it kind of auto solves it if they do use a special character there. It'll be a little cramped, but it'll fit whatever it needs to. So that's pretty good. H open help. That's all looking good. So next we're going to center that and center that. So it's kind of the same in the sense that it does make me cough. Um, and that we have 2 left aligned, but at least open inventory is left upper aligned, whereas open help is left center aligned. So at least some variation in there. I was trying to do a different aesthetic for almost all of the paintings, but obviously the crouch and sprint ones are very similar. So yeah. All right, so let's go over to interact painting. Go ahead and I'm just going to duplicate this real quick. Duplicate, call this binding label. Make that 5.5 again. We're just going to go ahead and change that to that. We're going to bump this up to, I'm going to try for, it might end up being less than that. Who knows? 1.5 width So we're going to go ahead and move this up to about here. Let's grab our label, and we are going to have this be centered without this. Okay. Give it a height of 0.75. Move you down just a smidge. About there. All right, let's go ahead and grab our binding label. Make that all there. All right, and I'm reasonably confident about this one already, so let's go ahead and do what we were doing before. Oops, wrong thing. Oh, wrong thing. Here we are. Duplicate this. Binding label. Single out our scale. Zero out things. So they're correct. All right, so this is going to be just 0 with a size of 5.5. Let's go ahead and change our height to 1. Let's just move this up to here-ish. And I don't remember, did we change the sprint label? That's 4 now, so that's probably the same over here. So 4. Let's get rid of one of these and then one of these. Let's go ahead and move this down to here. Get a height of 1.5. All right, I think that's good. Let's go ahead, set up our painting. Set delete all the way. Assign binding label. Hit save. And let's go ahead and get this one out of the way too. And then we should be good. Okay, let's go ahead and duplicate this. Call this binding label. This. Make it centered and centered. That's good. We're going to bump our font size up to 5.5 again. Let's single that out. Change this to just say interact, I guess. I think we're still pretty good on the font size. Let's change our height to like 0.5. Move this down to here. Move this up to here. 0.5. Okay, I think we're good. Let's go ahead and change this. There's our binding label. Do that. All right, so we should have all of our paintings in there basically taken care of. Gotta stretch. All right. Oop. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, it's because I used a lowercase c. Okay, so we have I to open inventory, enter to open close input menu. Probably want to move that up a smidge because it's really close to it right now. That's not too bad. E to interact. Maybe move it up a smidge and decrease its size to like 5 instead of 5.5. Control to crouch. All right. I think those all look pretty good. So we're going to move our E and our enter up a smidge. Aside from that, I think we'll be good. So let's go ahead and hit play. Move our binding label. Make this 5. And we're just going to move it up like to about, I think there. We're just going to move this up ever so slightly to about there. And can I shrink this by any chance? Like -10 situation? No. let's see what those look like real quick. Then we'll jump over to the sewer level, and then we'll start work on the CSV parser. And the sewer only has one painting in it that we need to deal with, so that shouldn't take us very long. Okay, was to move. Just kind of review everything real quick. Shift to sprint. I like it. Mouse click or E to interact. Clip. Let's just go ahead and fly through here. I to open inventory. Open help. Enter to open close input menu. E to interact. Okay. I think that looks good. All right. So let's go ahead and stop playing. And let's go ahead and save one more time because I'm a habitual saver. Let's jump over to the sewers real quick, and then we should be pretty much done. All right, so let's fly away over to here. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and duplicate this. 0 and 0 and that and that. Okay, we're going to call this our binding label. We're just going to... Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to bump this up to 5 again. Have this aligned left. I'm going to have it be aligned center still, and I'm going to manually position it. So let's go ahead and come down here. It's a little tough to see, so I'm going to turn off this lighting just real quick so that I can make sure that everything lines up and is not below the water. So I think we're good there. Go ahead and turn that back on. We're going to change this up so we don't need that anymore. We can now change this to 0.5. Generous 0.6. Turn our lights back off. I need to see where this goes. Just try to kind of like bump this a little bit. All right. Our painting label. Okay. Let's hit save, and we should be good. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, once it decides to actually play. All right. Oh, that's interesting. The audio is not initialized. Hold on. I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that I started playing before or directly in the scene. All right, so that looks good. And you can see that it clearly says space to jump. Cool. So I think that is good. So let's go ahead and stop playing, and we're going to write our new CSV parser now. I'm a little concerned about sector stuff, but that's an audio problem, and that's not on the docket for tonight. Okay, so like I said at the beginning, we're going to go ahead and go over and get rid of this probably. So the way the old CSV parser worked is we're going to take some of the approaches that it did and use them. Others we are going to rewrite from scratch entirely, pretty much. So what we do is we take in the CSV and we output a list of dictionaries of strings and strings. So that each dictionary of string and string represents a single row in the CSV file, and the first string is the key. The second string is obviously the value, just like how a dictionary works. And since it's in a list, we can return all of the rows at once. So what we do first is we get our headers, which essentially just grabs the first row. And so you can see that we like split based on new line. And then we just parse the first row and say, split based on commas. And then from there, we basically just go ahead and say, okay, however long this is, go ahead and kick it up and trim all the values, make sure that there's no white space on the end, which I think might actually be a redundant check, but it's probably there in case you have a weird formatted CSV file. So that returns the keys, which are called headers because this is an old script that really should have been rewritten a long time ago. And then we basically go along, split the sheet based on new line characters, which is not a good idea because if you do it that way, that only works if you don't have new line characters in your CSV content. The moment that you have a CSV line that has a break in it for its content, this would break. So we don't actually want to split it based on new line characters. And just gross. Yeah, and what this does is it like splits the rows by their by new lines, and then it trims all the strings. And oof, this is just not great. So this is doing pretty much the exact same approach that I did for my JSON parser, my old one, where I would just like take the string that comes in and start ripping out strings from it that I would then constantly reformat. So, I mean, at the very least, you can see that I'm using String Builder, which is a little bit better, but it's not perfect, really. And because I'm using String Builder, it means that I'm constantly creating and allocating memory for this, for these string builders, which is admittedly better than a string because at least the string builder is not an immutable value, and it can be changed, and I can just clear it out. But because of how I'm doing this, you can tell that I'm just like building a string from this, and I have to create it for every single row. So I could have probably optimized that by moving this string builder out of this for loop and just clearing it every time. But that's not how it works. So, or well, that's not how it is right now. Um, so after we go through and we trim all the row strings and do all that, wow, that really was a terrible way of doing it. So I literally make a list of row strings. So I grab all of the rows from the CSV and then I run through them and trim off wrapping quotes. And then I add that string that I created. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. This is a redundant check too, I think. Oh no, oh man, it's just terrible. This is just awful. So, excuse me, yawn. To give you a sense of what the CSV or what a typical CSV file might look like, this is what it is. So you can see that we have a couple of interesting cases here. The first line shows what happens when you have quotation marks inside of your content. So the original spreadsheet for this, let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. Second. I believe that's under design, and this was loading screen flavor text. So loading screen flavor text. Hold on. All right. So you can see here that we have just single quote, or well, not single quotes. We have double quotes around here, but it's only one double quote on each side. CSV files escape quotes by double quoting them, essentially. So we need to be on the lookout for that situation. And in addition, if you have any special characters like quotation marks or commas, because commas in a CSV are used for separator characters, then it wraps them in a quote. or in double quotes. So what we need to do is we need to, one, when we parse CSVs, we want to get this content, trim off the edges here. We don't need those quotes wrapping around it. And we need to get rid of these double quotes. So just like how JSON escapes characters, what we'll probably do is we're going to do an index-based string approach. So we'll just pass the one string value around and calculate index values for where we should start pulling data from. That keeps our memory footprint a lot more light because we will no longer have. I think the way the process currently works is we'll grab this, which is creating one string. We'll grab this row, which creates one string. Then we'll trim it of white space, which creates another string, if there is any white space. And then we're going to remove the quotation marks from around it, which creates a new string. And then we add that to a list of strings, and we return that. But that doesn't get rid of our double quotes here. And if I run through this as it is now, so you can see that these are our values. If I go ahead and refresh, you'll see that take apple and everything is currently bound by our quotes, whereas before it was shaped like this, because that's actually what it is. So ideally, our CSV parser will be able to trim off the beginning and end double quotation marks if they are there. Because if they are there, that means that it's wrapping escape characters. And we also want it to trim down double escaped character or double escaped quotes. It's just double quotes, except double quotes technically means two quotes. So when it has quotes that are back to back, we need to trim that down so that it returns one quote. So that's going to be a process I think similar to our JSON parser, where we basically we like parsed out the string index and then we looped through that and checked if it had any special characters or escaped characters, which in this case would be double quotes right next to each other. And then if that's the case, then we go in and we do some, string builder stuff to build an accurate string. And if we don't, then we don't have to worry about that, and we can just pop the string that we already got from the indexes right into it, right into the output dictionary, because we don't have to format it, and it already exists, so we don't have to create another new string. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're gonna go all the way up to here, and we're gonna add a new. Wow, really? Okay, that's not what I wanted. I'm gonna go ahead and say create C# script, and we're just gonna call this CSV parser, which I'm sure is going to register as an edit, which is hilarious because CSV parser old was the original file. But because Unity must use strings for serialization, meaning the names of the files, it thinks that this is an edited version of the previous CSV file, which is hilarious to me. Okay, so this is going to be in sleepyowl.common. We don't have to worry about that. We're going to go ahead and say using sleepyowl. Using system.collections.generic, because we are going to need a dictionary and list. We're also going to need to say using system.text. I think that's the only three that I had. Yep. All right. So we're going to go ahead and comment this. We're going to make this not be a mono behavior. We're going to make this instead be a static class. And we're going to say parser for CSV files. Actually, what was my old comment on this? Oh, I didn't have one. Cool. What is my JSON parser? Handles parsing a string into valid JSON values. Okay. I guess we can change that. So handles parsing a string into. Let's go ahead and do this. A CSV string into usable data. Okay. Next, we're going to go ahead and start off with public static void parse. And I don't know why I said void, because it's actually going to return a list of dictionaries of strings and strings. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and say pretty much what we did before. So we're going to say list dictionary string rows is equal to new blah end here. Parse CSV data. All right. I am going to keep the get headers function for the most part. We're going to obviously need to change how that works because we don't want to assume splitting based off of, based off of a new line. I don't actually know if CSVs can contain new lines in terms of like, well, let's find out. So real quick, I'm going to come up to here. I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this. I'm going to call this, whatever, it's fine. So I'm going to call this message test. Let's go ahead and show in folder. Notepad. So it wraps them, which means that it can be valid, which means that I need to actually parse this, which is gross. So that complicates things so very much. Yep. So that approach is going to be different. Should I make that public? I guess the old one was, but all right, fine. Public static string get keys string CSV. Okay. So for this, we're going to go ahead and say string keys is equal to new string 0, and then we're just going to say return keys. And actually, this is where things get kind of funky. We're going to have a list of int values, and these are going to be our start index is equal to blah, blah, blah. List int end indexes is equal to list int blah, blah, blah. So I'm not going to take, man, I seriously do not know why I'm coughing. Do I have a collapsed lung or something? This is terrible. So what I need to do here is essentially I'm going to loop through looking for commas, assuming that they are not in quotation marks because I'm going to just assume. Let's go ahead and delete this actually and create a couple of test cases. So there's going to be like key, comma 2. Right, let's go ahead and just rename this to like key 1, key comma 2, key 3, I guess. Okay. I'm not sure if I want to make this be like. Let's go ahead and do like. So standard, then like a comma. Then like a new line. And then empties. I think that'll be fine. Oh, probably I should have quotes. Sure. All right, so let's go ahead and download this as a CSV. Go ahead and open this up with Notepad. So you can see that we have quotes around our commas, quotes around our new line characters. We have double quoted threes that are surrounded by quotes because they have quotes. New line, special. Okay, so yeah. That all looks pretty correct. So lorem, that's a single value, and then ipsum is another cell entirely. So yeah, um, fun times. Let's go ahead and jump back over here. Oh boy, this is gonna get really complicated. Okay. Fortunately, I do think that I will be able to quite easily determine if a CSV value or a CSV row, or no, a cell value is needs to be parsed again, like if it needs to have extra formatting applied. Essentially, if it has quotation marks on the beginning and the end, it's special and needs to be formatted again, like scanned for double quotes or new lines and such. So that makes that a little bit easier for me at least. And then basically for keys, all that amounts to is um, well, ooh, gross. Um, Pretty much the keys will have to be treated like a standard cell value in the sense that it's going to be um, like we get our index, so we start at 0 and end up at, I don't know, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish, and then we go through, we see that it's got quotes around it. We're like, okay, quotes mean that it's got special characters, which means that we need to go through, and then we have to manually check this out. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. We might not actually get through all this today. We might only get as far as getting past the keys, um, just because it's already about 8:30, and something like this is probably going to take me longer than half an hour. Could be wrong. JSON parser experience might make it kick a little bit faster, but I get the feeling that there's going to be some edge cases in CSV parsing because CSV parsing is, surprise, surprise, not JSON parsing. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and say, man, where to start? Okay, let's go ahead and start. So keys are going to go at the bottom, I think. We're going to start up here with a int start index is equal to 0, and then int end index is equal to 0. All right, so from this, this is going to be tough. I essentially want to iterate through. It's basically going to be the same process I did for JSON, where I have to keep track of the open and close, or the open counts on quotation marks. Um, Fortunately, it's only going to be that. I don't have to worry about brackets or braces. It's just going to be quotes. So let's get on with that. So we're just going to go ahead and say int open count is equal to 0. We're just going to let that go. And I guess I'm going to need to go ahead and actually no, that's fine. Okay. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to say all right, let's just go ahead and add it. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this, but I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to have a value right now called index. So we're going to go ahead and just say while index is less than CSV dot length. We're going to do something. And before I do anything else, I'm going to just go ahead and say like if string dot is null or empty CSV, then we're just going to return a new array of strings because it won't have anything. Pretty straightforward there. All right. And the reason that I moved the keys down here to the bottom instead of having it up top is because I don't actually know the amount of keys that I'm going to have. So at the end of the day, once I'm done parsing, it's essentially going to be this. Oops, not indexes dot count. It's essentially going to match whatever my count is on these things. That's how long the list of keys is going to be. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say okay, if CSV of index, well, no, let's do this. No? Yeah, okay. So we're going to say if CSV of index is equal to, and we want that to be a standard quote, then we're going to say if open count is equal to 0, then we'll say open count plus plus, else open count minus minus. I think that will be correct because double quotes or quotes inside of quotes would get escaped into double quotes, which would mean that this would like bounce down to 0 and then immediately bounce back up to 1 for every quote. So we should be good there. And then what we're going to say is if I might make this a switch statement. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I think I'm going to make this a switch statement. So it's going to say switch CSV dot index. I'm going to say case single or double quotes. If that's the case, we're going to do this. Case, say case, comma, break, and we're going to say if open count is equal to 0, then that means we've else index. Say mark index. Else, we're just going to continue on. Is inside quotes. Okay. So if this is the case, we're just going to go ahead and say in index is equal to index. I think that's pretty straightforward. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, what other special characters do I really need to care about? I really don't. I think those are the only two. So otherwise, I'm just going to say default do something, which I'm pretty sure is just going to be increment the index. Let me think. Yeah, I think that's correct. So I would actually want to just change these to go to default. Go to default. And this is just going to say index plus plus. And what I need to do here is say if my start index is equal to index here, I need to mark my start index. Okay, hold on. Actually, oh shoot. Okay. So I need to do a case new line break. And I have to say if open count is equal to 0, that means it's the end of the first line. Let's go ahead and do that. End of first row. Else we don't really care. So this will probably just be like a go to default again. Stop parsing. Okay. pretty sure that's the rudimentaries of what we need. So the hard part is this. So I think I need to say if index is less than or equal to start index, I'm going to say start index is equal to index. Okay. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say start indexes dot add start index end indexes dot add end index. I'm actually going to make this, I guess, end index minus 1. And then we're going to want to restart this so that we say start index is equal to index plus 1, and then end index is equal to 0. I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't actually know if we need end index. We might end up just making that be the index value, because currently all we're doing is setting it to be index minus 1, immediately adding it, and then immediately setting it back to 0. So questionable. I don't even know if I would even really need to set it back to 0. I think I'm just doing that for cleanliness. Okay, so that marks the n index and adds it to the list of indexes and sets up the start n index for that particular key. Otherwise, I think we might be good. Let's see here. I don't know how to mark that this should stop parsing. I guess I could set like a bool value. Because the problem is if I try to do a break inside of the switch statement, it's just going to break me out of the switch statement, but not out of the while loop. So I'm going to go ahead and say bool done parsing is equal to false. So we're going to say done parsing is equal to true, and then after the switch statement, we're just going to say if done parsing. We're going to break out. Okay. And from there, oh, that's actually kind of nice. The break highlights the while loop. I never noticed that before. So once we're done with that while loop, we'll basically be ready to go in terms of creating our keys. So there's no way that this is it. Is this really all I needed to do? If so, that's kind of hilarious, and that's very straightforward and easy. So let's go ahead and test this real quick, I guess. I don't know if I don't have a parsing scene, so yeah, I'm just going to throw something together real quick. Once it compiles, and while it's compiling, I'm going to take a drink. Man. Did I not assembly definition these? I'm positive that I did, and yet it takes so long. I bet it's because there's actually a lot of stuff that I haven't assembly definitioned, so it's probably all gross. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and throw up a new scene. We're going to create. Excuse me. All right. Create canvas. Let's go ahead and create a UI. that over, make that black, 200%. Okay, so I'm just going to throw this, once it finishes compiling, of course. One of these days. All right. I'm going to throw the CSV tester on here. We're going to go ahead and just create underneath this UI Text Mesh Pro text, I guess. Okay. And all I'm going to do here is, I'm just going to call this the label. Let's go ahead and save this. Oh, wait, no, I'm not going to save. It's just a test scene. So open this up. It's going to be fine for now. We're just going to go ahead and say using Theme Pro. And then we're going to say public text mesh pro UGUI label. Excuse me. It's gross. Context menu. Private void refresh output label. Okay, we're just going to say refresh label. We're just going to say output label dot text is equal to CSV parser dot parse. Oh wait, sorry. Get header or get keys. Get keys. Okay, that's going to be nothing for now. Oh right, and then I'm going to say dot to delimited strings so that I can just kind of get those out. And then I'm going to go ahead and say public text asset CSV equal to null, and we're just going to say CSV.text. Okay, go ahead and call output label. I'm sorry, no, refresh. Output label. Go ahead and save that. All right, so I'll let that compile. Let's go ahead and drag in this wonderful flavor text. I'm like 90% sure that this will not work on the first try, but I'm also optimistic. Oh wait, no, it's totally not going to do anything because I haven't actually finished the parsing part yet. I guess that means I'm going to do this real quick. For int I equals 0, I is less than keys dot length I plus plus. We're just going to say keys of I is equal to CSV dot substring from start index is of I to end indexes of I minus start indexes of I. I think that will work. It won't parse out any of the special reserve characters, but at the very least it will give me the keys themselves in their raw value forms, which is an important first step. All right. Compile. I command you. I really wish it didn't take so long to compile. Hooray! Okay. Let's go ahead and assign our values real quick. There's our label. There's our CSV. So, hitting save is just a force of habit. Let's go ahead and hit play. Cool. We got nothing. But we also didn't get any errors, which is useful. Okay, so does that mean... So I'm going to do this. If index is equal to CS, sorry, is greater than or equal to CSV dot length debug dot log broke out. Too late, I guess. This isn't a paper. You don't end things with a period. I don't know why the semicolon had a squiggle. Start indexes. I mean, I'm reasonably sure that everything's set up correctly. We start our index out at 0. Start index, open count. We say open count plus plus, minus. If it's less than or equal to start index, then we're going to go ahead and just set our start index to be equal to that. We go through. We always go to default no matter what our statement is, which means that it is. Well, we know that it's not getting stuck in a loop, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to stop playing. So let's go ahead and try that again. See what happens. How interesting. And yet, it didn't break out. How curious. So we didn't get this problem. Let's go ahead and say if done parsing, debug.log, done parsing. Okay. And then I'm going to be curious. If open count is equal to 0. You know, one, I'm going to make sure that this is the correct one. Yes, it is. That, so this basically needs to be done twice. Oh, geez, what the heck? I hate it when I do that. So we're going to go ahead and come down here. We have to paste that in there because we also need to mark that at the very end. But my question is, why? I guess let's just figure out if it actually gets to be done parsing, or if it is doing something else. Because if it's not, if it doesn't log either of these, it means that something weird's happening, but it's not freezing, which means that I don't even know, honestly. Because these are mutually exclusive. These both can't be correct. One of them has to be correct, and the other has to be false. Wow. All I can think of is that this quote is not correct. All right. Turn off maximize on play. Let's clear this out and see what it looks like. I am curious. Curious. Hey, we got a little bit farther. Okay. I do not for a second trust this. So let's go ahead and pull this up so I can look at it. No, we don't care about that. So if I had to guess, it would be getting here and then failing, which is, not okay. So I'm curious because we are doing a check there. Let's go ahead and come back here to our CSV parser. So we're getting to a new line. Open count is apparently equal to 0 when we reach it, which is highly suspect. Also, I'm going to go ahead and change this so that it's just index. I seriously don't believe that it is correct. Um, okay, because we get up here and we say if it's equal to our quotes, then do nothing. Well, not do nothing. We're essentially going to open count plus plus or open count minus minus. Open count is equal to 0 to start, so it should go up. Um, I guess I'm going to go ahead and do this. Debug.log format keys of I. Okay, followed by start indexes of I and then end indexes of I. Okay, let's go ahead and let that compile. That should give me a little bit more of a preview into this. Like it pretty clearly, I think, was coming out so that it thought for some reason that this was valid, which should not be possible because open count should be equal to 1. I don't know. Let's find out. Okay, so we're doing better. Interesting. And yes, it is only getting to that before it just screams done parsing. And that is not correct. We know for a fact that that is not correct because we have this, and there's a quotation mark in the value that's returned. So that's curious. Let's go ahead and try this out. So we're going to go ahead and say debug.log string.format quote found exclamation point followed by a formatting conditioner and conditional, I guess. So that's not correct. Anyway, so this is going to be index. Okay. And is there any possibility that we don't do index plus plus? Because I do not think that that is actually possible. Okay, so let's go ahead and you know what? Actually, also, we're going to go ahead and say, I'm going to move this up, move this down to here, and we're going to say quote found 0, 1. Okay, so this is going to be open count followed by index. So now it will be blatantly obvious if it thinks that we have an open count, and also where it thinks that we found that quote. Because what should be happening, I bet you it's something tiny that I'm doing. That's stupid. But because essentially what should be logic, or what should be happening here, what the pseudocode is, we start our open count at 0. If we find a quote, we say, is our open count 0? If so, increment our open count. And if our open count is not 0, decrement it. Pretty straightforward. Should make it pretty stupid proof, but apparently that is not necessarily crisp proof. So, okay, quotes found 1. And then we just, what? I don't understand. So you can see that we say quotes found 1 and 0, which means that our open count is set to 0, or our open count is set to 1, and our index is set to 0. Okay. Now, let's double check this. Me being stupid, me being very, very dumb. Yep. That's a why. Yep. I don't know why I did that. I'm disgusted with myself. It's always something stupid. The theory was sound. The execution was flawed. It's always like that for me. Go figure. All right. Like I said, stupid proof, but not crisp proof. Okay, so let's give this a try again. Camo, I believe in you. You can do it. Yay! All right. So you can see that we're getting our values out correctly. They are not being trimmed, of course, but they are being output correctly, which is good. Probably should go ahead and stretch this. Force of habit. Okay, let's try that again. I want to see what they look like lined up. Make sure it looks correct. Okay, nice. So we have our keys outputting exactly as they are parsed in, but they don't have any formatting done to them yet. So what we need to do is we basically want to trim this. So let's put that at the bottom here. So we're just going to go ahead and say private string, a static string, format CSV text, string CSV value. Okay, so this is going to take a string builder. Output is equal to new string builder, return output.toString. Okay, and all we're going to do here is we're just going to say if keys of I. Also, I really want to test this because I'm not sure what it's going to do. I'm going to insert a new column to the right. I don't know if this will export with the CSV or not. I'm assuming that it will, but I don't know. Yes. Yeah, so it's possible to have empty keys, which means that I need to preemptively prepare for that. All right, so we're going to say if keys of I dot length is greater than 0, and keys of I of 0 is equal to this, and keys of I dot length minus 1 is equal to a quote as well. We're going to format it, else I'm going to do this. Okay. So we're going to say, I'm going to copy this, paste that in, and then we're going to say format CSV text, paste that in. All right. So, what we want to do here is it is immediately assumed that we will basically trim off the front and the end. So we're going to go ahead and say new string builder with CSV value dot length -2 to its capacity, so that gets all allocated up front. It can only be smaller than that. Yeah, well, it can only be that or smaller, basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if no, so yeah, we're pretty much going to have to do that. All right. I wonder. Yeah, okay. I guess what I need to do here is I need to say okay, we're just going to do it the flat way. I was going to try to do some fancy thing where I basically looked to see if there were double quotes, because that's the only thing we have to really replace. But it's possible that there would be. Well, no, never mind. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say if not CSV value dot contains, and then this is going to be fun. It's going to be like an escaped quote and escaped quote. So if it doesn't contain a double quote, then we're just going to straight up return CSV value dot substring of 1, and then CSV value dot length -2, I believe. That will give us exactly what we want in terms of like formatting, because all we had to do for this one is just trim off the quotes. Only need to trim quotes. Okay, and then after that, we're gonna have to actually go through and start handling this differently. So we're just gonna say for int I equals 1, I is less than. Wow, that is terrible. I is less than CSV value dot length I plus plus. Okay. And actually, I guess we can say -1 here. Okay. And all we're going to do here is say if CSV value of I is equal to quote and CSV value of I plus 1 is also equal to a quote, then we're going to go ahead and say else output.append CSV value of I. I hate doing it like this, but okay. If we're going to do that, then we're just going to say output.append a single quote, and then we will say I plus plus, manually increment that. So that, I think, will basically solve our problem for us. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Pretty sure that was all the logic we really needed to do to handle this. So go ahead and show this in Explorer. We're just going to replace that. Okay. Let's let that compile. And then I think we'll be good. And I'm assuming if this, not assuming, if this works, we're probably going to call it a night. So I can go cough my lungs away in peace. Force of habit. All right, let's go ahead and play, and then, okay, we got a null reference, which is curious. Why do we have a null reference? Sure. No. A null reference? How interesting. Ah, Right. I know why. It's my fault. I didn't account for empty values, I don't think. Um, right, so we're going to say if keys of I. Wait, no. That is interesting. Keys of I is equal to keys of I. Oh. Oh. Shoot. Um, okay. Yeah. Okay. I know what I did there. I was comparing the value of the thing that I was setting, which is obviously stupid of me. So what I need to do is I need to say if um, start indexes of I does not equal end indexes of I, and here's where it gets fun. We're going to want to say CSV of start indexes of I. Start indexes of I is equal to that, and then CSV of n indexes of I is also equal to that. I think that's what I wanted. Let's go ahead and let that compile. So that was me being stupid. Ah, violent sneeze. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let that compile, and then one of these days. Okay, let's see. What do we got? I'm confident. I'm brimming with confidence, which means it's going to fail. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Wait. How interesting. So it didn't end up formatting the way I would have expected. Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and put a debug in here. Debug.log. Log. String.format. Let's just do the whole shebang. So it's pretty much just going to be this, like this entire if statement. So let's go ahead and do comma, and then we're just going to do comma, followed by comma, followed by comma. Okay. And essentially what that's going to be doing is it's going to tell me what my start index is, my end index, and then what it thinks these values are. So I should be able to immediately discern if these are being handled correctly. It's possible also that format CSV text is not. Nope, no, it's impossible. So if format CSV text is being called, then must it must at the very least trim off the edges. As you can see here, like we're trimming the edges if we return it prematurely, and if we don't, we still will trim off those edges. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Hit play, see what it thinks we're doing. So that must mean that my if criteria is a little wonky, would be my guess there. Quotes. Yeah, I was worried about that. Man, that makes it so messy. So we need to do this, essentially. Oh, geez, no, it's not that. It's that. I think that's what we want. So basically, because the index is the actual comma character or the new line character, it's not my actual quote, which means that it's going to always evaluate as false there. So what I need to do is basically just subtract 1, and then that should correct it, um, because it will be comparing the accurate thing. It's important that we do that after we call this, though, because there are instances where the key apparently can be null. So if it's an empty string and we're trying to look for indexes on it, that would throw everything off base. So that hmm. Okay. Hmm. Really? So we're still. How interesting. How very interesting. So it worked for the first two keys, but not the third, which makes me think that this is. Right, I was doing this. I missed that one. So that makes me think that the end one is, for some reason, like double escaped? Question mark? Like there's two new line characters there, or maybe it's a white space? I don't think that's right. Um, this will tell us in better detail. Hmm. Okay, so let's try this again. Does. How curious. Okay, so our end one, for some reason, is just not correct. Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna humor myself, and I'm gonna pump -2 on there. I'm. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. So if we get to here, we're saying index is equal to index. How exactly could it possibly think that that is correct? That's very curious. Very curious indeed. All right. Hmm. So I really don't know what to do here. My start index is correct at the very least. You can see that it has the single quote there. But my end index must be wrong. It has to be. Uh, I suppose I could put a substring in there. If this doesn't give me the information that I want, then I'll put a substring value in there so I literally look at what the key is. Yeah. Okay. How curious. Um. Huh. Well, let me take a look at this. No? Okay. Very interesting. So yeah, -2 does give me the relevant value, but I don't know why it would be -2. I suppose I could cheat and do this. And index is equal to index -1. But I would like to know why it's thinking that that's a thing. So let's go ahead and when we do this. Okay, so it's basically going to be this. I believe that's correct. Okay. So let's let that compile. Um, a quick fix for this would probably just be to subtract 1 when I set the end index here, but I would like to know if it's actually like double new lining me or something without my knowledge, because I don't really know why that would be the case, but um, I also don't really know what else I would do there. I'm reasonably sure it's not this. Like it's a matter of the initial end index. Let's go ahead and clear this. Apply. Interesting. Hmm. That is very curious. Very curious. I'm torn because I don't want to just throw a -1 on there without knowing why that has to be there. That is really not great. Um, I suppose something I could do here is also this. So we're just going to go ahead and say debug.log. Well, we'll put this in the if check. Ah, meh. Okay, so we're just going to say if rar if this debug.log, and then we're just going to go ahead and say CSV of n indexes of I, and I actually want that to be I -1. Okay. And then can I get the Unicode? I'm going to say char.unicode category. That does not help me. Okay. Hold on. There's a way to do this. I always forget what it is because I use it like once every blue moon. Char to Unicode. Pretty sure there's a way to do this. And I think it's just like toString and then you give it a specific. Uh, okay, x4, I guess. Wait, we convert it to an int, then to string x4? Ah, gross. Okay, fine. We'll just copy this. So we're just going to say that, basically. So we're going to do, what was this? Plus, so that's like \\u, followed by casting this to an int, and then dot toString x4, which is gross. And then let's do pretty much the same thing. Plus, this is a terrible line. Plus this, except -2. Okay. So this, at the very least, should inform me what the value is, I guess, just by outputting it in a debug. If it's a new line char, I'm pretty confident that we'll be able. Well, I mean, if it's duplicate new line chars, we'll immediately know because they'll have the same value. If it's different chars, I will have to look it up because that is curious to me. So let's see what this does. Okay. So it's that 000D and 0022. Let's look that up. Wow, the Unicorn Consortium website is from the 90s. Okay. So it was U000D. So that's return carriage, or carriage return, I guess. And what was the other one? It was 0022, right? Yeah. Okay. So the second one is a quotation mark, which we knew that. Okay. But why is that wrong? Okay, that's super weird. Um, I do not understand. So we expected this one to actually be quotation mark. Um, but why is -1 wrong? Let's change this to not minus anything. Stop playing. Let's change that because we know -2 is correct. But what is the default value that's actually there? Because that could be anything. My assumption is that this is going to be the character immediately following the new line, which would make that what, like a L, I think, or another quotation mark actually. So if that registers as a quotation mark, then it means that it's skipping ahead one for some reason, which is unexpected behavior. Not exactly the best. Let's go ahead and clear that. Hit play. It's another carriage return, right? Interesting. 0A. Line feed. Okay, but why would the line feed be detected after a new line? Curious. Okay, so for some reason it's getting to be a line feed before it gets to be a quotation mark. Yay. I suppose that means I could just straight up check for a line feed character, which would have saved me a lot of trouble. But at the same time, that's very odd. Because I would assume that the line feed, like we detect the new line character first. No. Okay. 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 So that's what it is. So it must mean, yeah, that makes sense. So that means that the line feed, really, why on earth would that be the way that they do that? Okay, so in raw text or in raw string form, a CSV file, when it reaches the end of its line, does line feed then new line char instead of new line char line feed. Weird. Okay. Let me think. I don't actually know what the escape line feed is in C sharp. Gross. Environment.newline I don't think is correct. Um, yeah, that's not what I want. Ooh, gross. So there is not a good one to do that. Okay. I mean, that is really, really annoying. I suppose logically that means that the best way to handle this would be to actually increment the index backwards while it's white space. That's gross. What a terrible way to do this. Okay. So. Okay. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna say while end index. Sorry, hold on. CSV of end index. Um, char dot is white space. So while it's white space, we're gonna work backwards. So we're gonna say end index minus minus, and then we're just gonna say end index plus plus at the end here. Um, and the reason that we're doing that is because if we don't increment it back up once we get to the quotation mark, it's going to be wrong. So we basically want to do that. That's disgusting, and I'm going to comment that. Have to walk back. So line break and new line chars play nice. White space. So line breakach. Line break. Okay, so let's try that and see how that looks. That is super awkward, but whatever. And the reason that I'm kind of nervous about that, and I'm doing that like careful walk back instead of just like a hard walk back, is because all I know right now is that the CSV file is formatted the way that Google exports it. For all I know, that might not be standardized. There could potentially be weird situations where, I don't know, Excel exports a CSV with new line then line break instead of line break new line. I don't know. I could be wrong. I would assume that that's not the case. I would assume that it is actually standardized to be line break then new line. But just in case, I'm going to do it this way. And there we are. All right. Well, that works. It's weird, but it works. So I think that's a good place to stop for the day. So before the consumption gets me, we do have coughing. Sorry. We do have the tutorial paintings all solved. They all look nice. I got a couple of edge cases to look into, but otherwise they are showing their appropriate keystrokes as inline sprites. Looking good. And we've also started our new CSV parser, which is going to be a lot more efficient than our old one. And it will actually, be nice, and it will handle all of our cases as we would expect them to, instead of having just awful CSV parsing. So yeah, that's a pretty good place to stop for the night. So announcements. I should be on schedule to do my normal stream on Saturday this weekend, and that's all really for the immediate future. Long term, next month, I believe it's May 17th through the 20th, I want to say. I think it's 3 days. I'm going to be up in, I believe it's Rosemont, near Chicago, showing off my game at ASEN. So that's going to be my my first convention of the year. So I'm excited. Second year that I've been there. Second year that they've been showing off independent games. So I'm very, very excited to be part of the showcase again. So just as a long-term heads up, I'm going to be up at ASEN on May 17th through the 20th, showing off Text Quest. So if you're in the area, feel free to stop by. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I think that's a good place to stop. So as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.